Tonight, world history is holding its breath. In a hidden corner of Britain, in a room filled with cigarette smoke and dim oil lamps, a Spanish man sits before a radio transmitter. His fingers tap Morse code at a frantic and desperate pace. He does not tremble from fear. He trembles with rage. The message he sends to the German High Command is not a respectful report. It is a scream of fury, encoded in dots and dashes. Where were you? I had vital intelligence. The invasion is starting, yet you did not answer. This man was Juan Pujol García. In Nazi records, he was Agent Garbo, Hitler's most valuable and trusted spy in Britain. The one the Nazis trusted so much they were willing to bet the empire's fate on him. But Berlin never knew the truth. Juan Pujol García was working for the British. Every message he sent was a dagger into the heart of the Third Reich. Tomorrow morning, 156,000 Allied soldiers will land on Normandy's beaches. This is the largest amphibious assault in human history. D-Day. Juan's mission tonight is one of history's greatest gambles, convincing Hitler's generals that Normandy is just a mere distraction, a trivial diversion, and that the real invasion will happen elsewhere, a place that does not exist on any military map. If he fails, tens of thousands of Allied soldiers will die under German fire. If he succeeds, he will end the war years earlier. The radio clicks. Finally, the Germans answer. We are listening. Juan smiles. He takes a deep breath and begins typing the most important lie of World War II. But to understand how a Spanish chicken farmer with zero intelligence training became history's most successful double agent, we must travel back in time. Barcelona, Spain. 7-year-old Juan Pujol García feels he belongs nowhere. His family is a miniature battlefield of conflicting ideologies. His father, a textile factory owner, was a secular liberal believing in progress. His mother was a devout Catholic, believing in absolute obedience and ancient tradition. During meals, his father spoke of workers' rights. His mother replied with church authority. Juan sat there, silently observing. At this very table, he learned his life's most vital skill: survival between two hating systems. At 7, he was sent to a Marist boarding school. Iron discipline, forced prayers, unconditional submission. Juan hated it. He fought and argued with teachers. It peaked when a teacher humiliated him before the entire class. Juan stood up, walked out, and never returned. By 13, Juan worked in a mechanical shop. No degrees, no connections. Only a natural gift for language and psychology. He spoke Catalan at home, Spanish on the streets, French with customers, and taught himself English. But language wasn't his strongest weapon. His weapon was reading people. He understood what others wanted to hear, then became exactly what they needed. 1936, the Spanish Civil War broke out. Brothers shot brothers. Republicans conscripted Juan. They imprisoned him because his father owned a factory. Later, he fell to Franco's nationalists. They beat him, suspecting Republican sympathies. Both sides abused him. Both were partly right and completely wrong. When the war ended in 1939, Juan learned a bloody lesson. Ideology is what kills people. He realized the world isn't divided by left or right, but by fanatics and those wanting peace. Juan decided to never be a pawn again, unless he was the one moving the pieces. When World War II erupted, Juan made a history-changing decision. He would destroy Nazi Germany using the only thing he had: his imagination. Lisbon, a neutral ground, a hornet's nest of global spies. Juan entered the British embassy with an offer. I want to spy for you. The official didn't even look up. Experience? No. Military experience? I was a forced soldier and hated every second. German connections? None. The official asked, "What exactly do you have to offer us?" Juan paused, searching for the right words. Finally, he said, "Imagination." The British pointed to the door. They kicked him out. Juan tried 3 more times. 3 rejections. They thought he was a lunatic or a clumsy German spy trying to infiltrate them. That's when Juan did something crazy no spy would dare. He went straight to the German embassy in Madrid. He introduced himself as a radical nationalist Spaniard who hated the British. He claimed high-level business ties in London and could travel frequently for secrets. The Abwehr was interested but skeptical. They had met many amateurs promising everything. They tested him, giving him invisible ink, a codebook, $3,000, and mail drop instructions. Go to London and send reports. Most amateurs would fail instantly, caught at the border or exposed in their first report. But Juan did something genius. He never set foot in England. From 1941 to 1942, in Lisbon, Juan sat in a public library. Around him, British train schedules, old London travel guides, newsreels, old British newspapers, and a map of Liverpool. Think about this madness. He was fooling the Nazi intelligence agency while sitting thousands of miles away, using only public information. He invented a network of 27 fictional sub-agents. He had a travel agent in Gibraltar, a loose-lipped waiter in Chislehurst, and even a fanatical Welsh mercenary. None of them existed. They were all characters in the theater of Juan's mind. The British intelligence, MI5, started intercepting these German messages. They were baffled. Who was this Agent Garbo who was successfully spying on them from inside Britain, yet reporting information that was consistently, brilliantly wrong? They finally tracked him down. Instead of arresting him, they realized they had found a genius. They brought him to London and gave him a new code name, Garbo, because he was the greatest actor in the world. Now, Juan wasn't just a rogue liar, he was part of the double-cross system. His mission was about to get much more dangerous. By 1944, the Allies were preparing for Operation Overlord, the invasion of Normandy. But there was a problem. The Germans knew an invasion was coming. They had millions of soldiers and thousands of tanks waiting on the coast. If they concentrated their forces at Normandy, the Allied landings would be a bloodbath. The Allies needed a miracle. They needed the Germans to look north, toward Pas-de-Calais, while they struck south, at Normandy. This was Operation Fortitude, and Juan Pujol García was the heart of it. He began to feed his German handlers a massive amount of information. He told them about 1st U.S. Army Group, a massive force of 1 million men stationed in southeast England, directly opposite Pas-de-Calais. To make the lie real, the British built a ghost army. They made inflatable tanks, wooden planes, and empty barracks. They even put General George Patton, the man the Germans feared most, in command of this army. But the most important part was Juan's reports. He sent thousands of messages, detailing the movements of these fake divisions. He made the Germans believe that the real invasion would happen at Pas-de-Calais, and that any attack on Normandy would just be a feint, a trick to draw their reserves away. Then came the night of June 5th. The Allied fleet was already in the English Channel. Juan had a final, high-stakes move. He had to report the Normandy landings to the Germans, but he had to do it in a way that reinforced the lie. He tried to contact his handler in Madrid at 3 a.m. No answer. He tried again at 6 a.m. Still nothing. The German operator had overslept. Juan used this failure of the Germans to his advantage. When he finally got through, he sent that famous message of fury. He acted disgusted, claiming that his vital warnings about the diversion at Normandy had been ignored. This act of loyalty convinced the Germans even more. They truly believed Agent Garbo was their most devoted hero. Even after the troops landed on Normandy, Juan kept the lie alive. On June 9th, 3 days after D-Day, he sent a massive report. He convinced Hitler and the German High Command that the main force was still in England, waiting to strike Pas-de-Calais. Hitler personally intervened. He stopped the 1st SS Panzer Division and the 15th Army from moving to Normandy. They stayed in Pas-de-Calais, waiting for an invasion that would never come. By the time the Germans realized the truth, it was too late. The Allied beachhead was secure. The liberation of Europe had begun. The most incredible part? The Germans were so convinced of Juan's loyalty that in July 1944, they awarded him the Iron Cross, Nazi Germany's highest military honor. A few months later, the British awarded him the Member of the Order of the British Empire, MBE. Juan Pujol García is one of the few people in history to be decorated by both sides. After the war, Juan did what any master of shadows would do. He disappeared. He faked his own death in Angola, claiming he died of malaria. He moved to a small town in Venezuela and opened a cinema and a gift shop. For decades, he lived as a quiet, ordinary man. His neighbors, even his own children, had no idea that the man selling them popcorn had once held the fate of the world in his hands. It wasn't until 1984 that a persistent historian tracked him down. When asked why he did it, Juan replied, "I did it because I believe in humanity. I hate war and wanted it to end soon." Juan's story isn't just a spy tale. It's proof of the terrifying power of human intellect. Look at the numbers. 1,300 reports, 27 fictional agents, dozens of German divisions pinned down, and thousands of lives saved by a lie. Most think changing history requires guns or power. Juan proved, sometimes you only need courage, imagination, and a belief in what's right. He had no superpowers, just a deep understanding of human fear, greed, and arrogance. The lesson? In a world of extreme ideologies, never lose your independent thinking. Don't be a pawn. Write your own script, even when the world tries to force you into a mold. If you feel small, remember the chicken farmer who fooled Hitler. If you lack resources, remember the man who built an army from travel guides. Your imagination is your strongest weapon. Never underestimate it. Thanks for following Agent Garbo's incredible journey. If this inspired you, hit like and subscribe to explore more great hidden corners of history. Leave a comment below. If you were Juan, would you have the courage to send that Morse message? And finally, always remember Juan's words. The one without an ideology is the one who can survive and protect the truth best. See you in the next video.